Georgia's out there. Welcome to the show. I can say that, right, Soder?
Yes.
Well, I just did. So. Well, we are excited. We are really, really looking forward to this show for a little while, and we have Soder, which is a very familiar face. Everybody knows Soder, and we also have Liz joining us from our great state here as well. Welcome, Liz. It's exciting to have you out here. Well, I am in the one place worse than Minnesota on Earth. I am in South Dakota, coming to you live remotely. So, all you guys feel sorry for me.
South Dakota's worse?
In some ways it is. In the little place that I'm at, yes, it is worse than all of Minnesota. I'd rather be anywhere in Minnesota, but this place right here where I am right now. So,
how about Lake in Chicago? Would you want to go down there?
See, now that, well, yeah.
Because I used to live down that area.
Yeah. Now, anything with Chicago in it, I'm done. I won't even eat Chicago pizza anymore. So, you can have that.
Sounds like the music is loud, they're saying. So, anyway.
I killed it now.
Good.
I was like, I can't hear music at all. So, well, absolutely fantastic. I'm excited for what we're going to do. For those of you guys that are new to the show, this is a safe space of sorts. It's not very safe, right? This is a place this is real America. This is an opportunity for us to be able to have fun, to actually be able to talk to people that we don't always talk to be able to have conversations we don't always have, but to be able to have them in a fun way and just be able to just let loose. We're not all the same, but we can all get along and we can all enjoy each other's company. All of us, every last one of us probably has more in common than we have not in common.
Yeah, definitely.
So we need to focus on that stuff.
Back to me a year ago, Josh, can you see yourself streaming on YouTube with your black friend Q with a transsexual? I don't even tranny.
Just say it. I mean, say the line.
You're crazy. Say the line, cock.
So this is a really, really fun opportunity for me. Because I always get those boomers that come to me and they say, so what do you people like to be called? Exactly. Which I always tell them, colored. Just because I know that the next black guy they run into is going to get a great surprise. So
that's some good level trolling. I like that.
Well, it's kind of fun. So now I get an opportunity. So Liz,
sure.
what do you people like to be called?
See, I honestly don't know anymore because I try to avoid most trans people. I think I call myself a tranny. I don't care. It's just, but that word is offensive to so many of them. I suppose you're supposed to, it's considered polite to refer to somebody as their chosen gender, and it's considered extremely rude and very hurtful to use their birth gender or their old name.
So tell me this now. With that being said, so you mean to tell me that you don't know all the trans people in the town that you live in? Like you guys don't all hang out together and do barbecues?
Well, there was an organization that I went to called the Transgender Commission, which sounds pretty fancy, but that was about 10 years ago, and it was associated with the U of M. I stopped going to that because they all got offended that so the meeting was at the Armory, which for those not in the know, the Armory is where the ROTC folks are. So we're kind of going into that location, and then they put like, oh, gender neutral bathrooms, like just pieces of paper on the bathrooms. And so being ROTC people who follow procedure and whatnot, they took them down, and everybody got extremely offended. To which I kind of raised my hand awkwardly and said, we are kind of in, they have a very clear-cut procedure and rules. Did you ever think that maybe they're not doing it maliciously, just a chance? And everybody kind of looked at me like I was insane. And that was the moment where it's like, I really can't hang out with you guys. I got to do my own thing. And that was maybe 10 years ago. It was just, the idea hadn't crossed their mind. Immediately, it was because of discrimination, and they didn't want them there, and they felt oppressed. And I don't know. It was very knee jerk, and I thought it was unwarranted.
Well, you found a group here. I'm trans as well. I used to be a liberal, so I have
No,
made
dude,
the
I'm sorry to interrupt, but no, I voted for Barack Obama twice, and there was a good time there. I was a borderline socialist, so
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
I got red pilled pretty hard.
it sounds like you've come out of the darkness too, so that's fantastic. So, well,
Well, or come out of the fallen state, as Jesse Lee Peterson would say. Amazing. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. We're gonna just jump right into it. I know I kind of hit you with a couple of things, tongue in cheek there.
Sure.
Just out of the goodness of my heart. But we'll have a whole lot more fun as we move on. But so let me ask you this. So, I think that we've seen now. I will say this. As a black man, for those of you guys out there, I am black. I know that comes as a surprise, especially the folks over there at Star Tribune. But as a black man, I find it incredibly offensive when I'm told how I'm supposed to think, how I'm supposed to act, how I'm supposed to react to certain things. Um, I hate being classified or put in a box, right? But it's really interesting to me, as we have these discussions. um this movement, this LGBTQ movement, which, as a libertarian, I feel like everyone should feel free and be free to live the way that they choose to live, right? And that the government should have no intervention in that. And am I off of my rocker to think that most Americans feel that way?
I
Or am
agree.
I?
I agree. I think most people just want to be left alone. I think most people are just sort of, okay, do as you will unto others, but don't drag me into this. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no, that's the way I've always operated. And the funny thing is like if you look at, so part of the process is to get educated, right? So if you do anything trans, I still recommend you look into this before you know, apart from seeing the therapy and the rest of that, read transgender thinkers. And so I read Kate Bornstein, Richie Wilkins, um, and Janice Raymond, who is actually we would call her a TERF nowadays, but back then she was a believe that men are just infiltrating feminist spaces under the guise of being trans. Like I kind of read all of it, and what I discovered is that back in the boomers and the Gen Xers age, there was very much an emphasis on being libertarian. The whole, we're here, we're queer, get used to it, leave us alone, don't, drag us behind a pickup truck, don't fire us for without cause, just leave us be. Let us do our own thing. And now it seems as though the movement is we need to reshape the way that we view gender in society as a whole. It's very much more you must do with what we say, otherwise you're a bigot. And
Hmm.
that to me is incredibly disgusting. That to me is so antithetical to what um, a lot of the so everybody's heard of Stonewall, right? Well, before that, there was a transsexual or transgender riot or uprising or whatever you want to call it, called the Compton Cafeteria. So basically, it was a bunch of cross-dressing or trans people who went to this cafeteria, and the police kept raiding it. Well, finally, they decided we're not going to put up with this anymore, and they stood up and said no. And then Stonewall riots or whatever happened shortly thereafter. So they're a valuable component to this movement, but it seems as though transsexuality has lost its identity, and it's not so much about just a facet of who you are as a person. Now it's become your whole person, your whole identity. Most trans people I know, first and foremost, they define themselves as being trans, not as an American, not as a gamer, not as, from Minnesota, or, everything is sort of wrapped around that identity. And I think that differs so drastically the way it's before. And I think as a result, it's gotten weaponized. So.
Well, I mean, for fear of sounding like an absolute boomer here, I would have to say I miss the good old days, Soder, when we could just be Americans first. I'm an American. I don't have to be a trans American or have to be a black American or be an Asian American. I could just be an American,
Right.
first and
I
foremost.
don't really remember those days.
Well, I mean, I read in a book one time where that was a thing called American Dream, and basically anybody that came over here got to be one. So I thought that sounded pretty cool. But no, in my lifetime, it seems like there's been this huge push to force everybody into a box and to segregate those people. You've got the blacks are supposed to be mad at these guys for this, and the trans are supposed to be mad at everyone for this, and now it's really interesting to me because I feel like the whole LG now look from the outside looking in, right? And maybe you can dispute this, but it almost feels as though the trans are kind of removing themselves or being pushed out of the LGBTQ movement, right? Because
Yeah.
it almost feels like they are, I don't know, it feels like they're taking over the movement, or they are essentially being excommunicated from the movement for whatever reason. I mean, am I reading this wrong, or do you see it, or do you feel it?
I think I kind of see what you mean, because now there seems to be a push against, or kind of a push back against transsexuality, especially with lesbians. There's a whole like, oh, transsexuality erases lesbianism. The whole turf versus non-turf argument is going on, and who gets the power essentially.
Right.
And I think for me personally, I just see it as Marxism with another coat of paint. I
Sure.
think that, whereas I did what was necessary to address a medical condition that I suffered with for years and probably would not be alive if I hadn't, I think most people now see it as it's just deconstruction of the old system. It's about, oh well, I don't fit in normally as if anybody does, therefore I have to completely rewrite everything and use a medical apparatus to back it up.
Sure.
And what we're seeing in result now, I think, is past couple of years have really been pushing for it. There's starting to be a push back. I think Mr. Beanie Head Tim Pool did an article about how there's hundreds of people who are detransitioning, and there's an organization that's really interesting called Project Resilience, where young women who are transitioning into like trans men are transitioning back, and a lot of it has to do with properly addressing the effect of social media, the effect of other things on girls and young women. So
I mean, who
yeah,
the
I
hell
think
would want to be a white male today? Like, that's like public enemy number one, right?
yeah.
I mean,
And I think
Michael Jackson was ahead of his time.
no, he should have been going the other way. Yeah, no, he definitely chose the wrong side, I think, right?
Sorry, say
But
again?
Michael Jackson definitely chose the wrong side, right? Him
I
and
don't
Sammy
really.
Sosa.
Oh God, yeah. See, I think Michael Jackson just really wished he was another person entirely, but I don't think it had anything to do with gender. But yeah, he did
I
kind of turn into a freak show near the end of it. Poor guy.
yeah, I kind of feel bad for him. I mean, obviously, there's people that deal with real mental health issues, and I believe firmly that he did. Very talented dude,
Oh yeah,
but
genius guy.
but the demons were definitely they were definitely pulling him a
Hmm.
different direction. So
Definitely.
so so let me ask you this. So I mean, obviously we got a lot to cover, a lot of things that I would love. I mean, I don't even know that
Sure.
we can get all this into one show, but like I said, I feel that there's this huge push, within the LGBTQ movement, and it almost feels like, I mean, trans rights have kind of come to the forefront. I get absolutely pissed off whenever I have someone from the LGBTQ side try to come to me and pander to me and say, well, you should definitely understand this as a black guy, what it's like. And it's like, wait a minute, stop it. No, it's not the same thing. And don't try to, pretend that we identify over our persecution, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't feel really persecuted. I'll be honest. Have I met some racist people? Yes.
Hmm.
Have I had to deal with some real racism, and I've addressed that in other shows? Yes, I have. But do I feel like that is even on the top 100 list for things that I deal with on a day-to-day basis? No. And every last one of my failings in life have had zero to do with racism, had everything to do with just Q making really bad decisions. right?
Yeah.
And so I've had to own that as a person and move past that. But this victimhood mentality, man, it's sad to see. Now, I mean, but I'm speaking from my personal experience. But honestly, do you feel that that you have to deal with do you feel that you have to deal with a lot of outside noise, or do you feel like you have to put up with a lot of bigots?
No. And see, the thing is I don't know if it's because I pass reasonably well. Now, there's plenty of people who would refute me on that, but I'm able to go through life with people seeing me as female. Now, when I was more androgynous, I never encountered somebody who yelled a slur at me or something like that. I think, and I would even be so bold as to say, when I was more androgynous, I probably would have had more support
Hmm.
because I think our society, especially in Minnesota, is so it wants to be accepting and open so badly.
Hmm.
Where it just I think there was a boss that I had once when I was just starting to make the transition from male to female, and I was working at like a pizza place. I kind of told him and said, "Look, here's what the situation is." And he said, "Well, oh, that's totally fine. And if you're just having a bad day, it's totally good. We're cool. We're no worries." Um, I think I've received more bigotry from the opposite side. I think I've received more hate, more vitriol, and anger from the left. And because I'm gonna tell you my most egregious sin right now. Okay, you ready for this?
Let's hear
I voted for Donald Trump.
it.
I know.
That no,
So it's
no,
I didn't
unforgivable.
even do that.
fake news, fake news.
So that in their eyes is
You're a
completely
minority.
unforgivable.
No minority ever would
Right,
vote for
right.
Donald Trump and would never admit it for sure.
I know. It means I'm just an awful person who wants to see people killed and thrown into camps and all sorts of horrible things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's how they view me in their eyes. They view me as a traitor or as a heretic, as somebody who is willfully evil. And that is more bigoted, more vicious, more hysterical, nasty, and reactionary, and any other word you want to use, than anything I've seen from the conservative side. I have lost friends, good friends, and close friends over that. And
Wow.
I one of the friends I knew who went on to write in one of my favorite tabletop RPGs. I think she kind of caught wind after we spoke, and she basically unfriended me and kind of disowned me. So
Wow.
yes,
Wow.
I've been in a situation where my brother didn't speak to me for 7 years. That was probably the worst I've had on that, and because he's religious.
Right.
But the opposite of that is anybody who I used to speak with in those trans communities. If I wore a "Make America Great Again" hat to that transgender commission meeting again, I'd be thrown out and banned.
It's a
I might
modern
even
day.
have the police called on me.
Well, it's a modern day White Hood. You do know that, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
the ironic thing right now too is I have been I was raised Jewish. I'm debating with my religiosity at this point. I wish I had more time to read more about Christianity, but I'm kind of leaning in that direction over time. But I was raised Jewish, and so I have literally been called a Nazi on Twitter and elsewhere, and it's like, you literally have zero self-awareness right now, do you? And I've just come into contradictions where it's like, oh well, violence against trans people is increasing, but you shouldn't have a gun. What are you talking about? That's pure doublethink. Stop
right.
it, you smooth brain. Like,
Smooth brain. I
yeah.
like it. I like it. I have to lock that one into the memory bank. That's fantastic. So, because I would agree that for me, being a conservative black man, that I have been called everything from self-loathing to a traitor to a Uncle Tom to
Hmm.
a porch monkey. I mean, I've been called all of it, and it's always not from. So I went to a Trump rally down in Rochester, right?
Oh,
So
right.
took my
Cool.
took my son down there. We sat in line for, oh my gosh, probably 7 8 hours. Had phenomenal conversation with the people around us. People were really welcoming. I mean, even let my son sit in their chair and things like that. I mean, just very, very kind, just regular people. It wasn't until we came out that we
Yeah.
ran into the protesters, and now I have to have a conversation with my son, who was what 7 at the time,
Yeah.
about all these words that he's never heard before. You know, and why do they call us that? And why were they so mean? Why were they so mad? But yet that's what we hear from the tolerance ones, right? The people we're
Right.
supposed to be
Right.
more like. And so that's the frustrating side. So anytime we dare think outside the box and dare to be free thinkers, well, then at that point, I mean, that's the most egregious sin that we could possibly commit. So, I mean, so let me ask you this. So right now, I mean, gosh, man, I don't even know where to start, but I guess we'll start with the situation down in Texas, right?
Hmm.
Everybody's kind of talking about it.
Yeah.
We have a young man, um, well, a boy. I mean, he's a kid. He's 7 years old, twin. Ends up being caught between a broken home, two parents that are going their separate ways. Which, I mean, it happens a lot. But says that he feels that he is a girl. And of course, now again, this is hearsay. I've never heard it from the
Hmm.
kid, but of course, according to the mom, she wants to immediately, start hormone blockers
Yeah.
and wants to start, you know, uh, transition therapy, right?
Yeah.
And then chemical castration. That's the one that got me. I mean, I'm thinking, wow. I mean, that's wow.
So
At 7 years old.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's I view it as child abuse, probably of the highest order that I can think of. I once had somebody explain to me that, as the person was also consequently a therapist, they said a person who's been sexually abused can come back from that. If you have been chemically altered at a young age like that, there is no coming back. And
Well,
it's child abuse. It's flat out like I mean, what is and this is why I wish we had Nick Rekieta here to give us kind of the definitions of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. So for those not in the know, Munchausen syndrome is, a person is faking being sick, or having a problem so that people pay them a lot of attention and lavish praise on them. Well, Munchausen by proxy is a parent doing that to a child, and like 98% of the time it's female. So the
hmm,
question I have is, if this was a legal situation where the mother was not giving the child hormones but giving the child poison, what would be the effect of that? What
hmm,
if the mother gave the child poison so that they had a permanent disability or disfigurement or something permanent, long lasting? What would the punishment that be? So legally speaking, where do we draw the line? Because right now there is very much a social incentive for parents, especially this whole virtue signaling. Oh, look at my trans child. But what you're doing is you are irreversibly changing their body chemistry. And worse, if you do it at a young age and they don't go through puberty, they don't develop enough tissue down there to have a sexual reassignment surgery. Now, having gone through that process myself, I can tell you it ain't no picnic. To be able to make those kind of decisions when you're 7 is impossible.
hmm.
And more specifically, if you doom that child into not having that like, there's such a high rate for transsexuality, for suicide, I mean. What's
Right.
the rush? Now,
Right.
Like
slow down.
50%.
Yeah, it's like I think 50% die by the age 25, and then even after surgery, it's 40%. You literally have a better chance of playing Russian roulette and walking away than you do of being a trans person. So let's stop for a minute and think about, given that high rate of suicide, should we not, as rational people, try to prevent gender dysphoria, right? If it ends with such a high death rate, even if you knowingly or accidentally let one child who has it or who doesn't have it, then you're creating death, right? You're dooming that child's life, and not only their own life, but their ability to have children, their legacy that they leave behind. You know, they will never be a grandparent, and they will never be a parent, and they will never have all these other things. And now that I'm older, I realize, yeah, it's about having children. It's about educating that child in your own experiences and help it. Like it's how you maintain your legacy in your society and all the things that are important to you.
So let me ask you this. So you brought up a really interesting point, but it's not something that I've ever really heard talked about in depth. And since I have you here, I would like to discuss it. So we're supposed to be creating a sterile environment because kids bully trans kids, which in real honesty, I was bullied as a kid for many different reasons. I mean, but I think that that's just kids do. Unfortunately, kids bully other kids. It's
Yeah.
not right. It's terrible, but they do.
Yeah.
And that's just part of being a kid. And I think teaching, especially today in this social media world that I didn't grow up in. I mean, and it started coming on as I was a teen, and my parents were totally against it. Wouldn't allow social media in the house growing up. So now fast forward to today, where every kid's got Instagram and Snapchat, and I mean they're growing up in this social media bubble.
Yeah.
And so they never really get away from it. They go to
Mhm.
school, they come home, but I mean, in a lot of the situations that they don't have the nuclear family there, that support group or support system to be able to talk about those things. Where I come home, talk to mom, talk to dad about these different things, and they would kind of coach me up and walk me through it, and kind of just assure me that I was okay.
Yeah.
And so I feel for the kids in that situation, but how much of the suicides do you think could be attributed to the fact that once you go down that road, once you have bitten of that apple,
Mhm.
so to speak, at that point, from that moment forward, you are thinking this way, you are acting this way, you are voting this way, you are
Yeah.
speaking this way, like you give up all rights. I mean, I understand that it's being preached that in order to be the real you have
In
to do
theory.
this in theory,
Well,
but
who
it
what
couldn't be anything
what 7-year-old knows who they are? What 7-year-old can even tell the biological differences between a boy or a girl who hasn't been, abused, right? In graphic detail, maybe,
yeah.
oh yeah, girls have a hoo-ha and a boy have a ding-a-ling, but that's it. You don't go any more
Girls have
detail than that.
cooties.
Right,
Most
exactly.
important thing.
I mean, when I was 7, I still wanted to be a garbage man because I wanted to ride on the back of the trucks like I saw the garbage men doing in our neighborhood. So, I mean, no one really is. I don't think anyone is ready to make lifelong decisions um, at 7 years old. Now, that's interesting to me because I live in a state in Minnesota where you can't even go and get a tattoo until you're 18 years
That's
old,
right.
whether your parents give you permission or not. You can't even get a tattoo before 18. But we're really in a society. I mean, in Texas, I'm from Texas, so I mean, in Texas is probably one of the more conservative states in the union, or was. I mean, when I was growing up. Um, but I mean, I understand that they've overturned it now, correct, Soder? I mean, the judges is overturned the
Um,
decision to
from what I
start.
understand, the judges said uh, the father now has a say in any medical treatments that the kid has to go under. So they both, from how I understand, what happened is they have to agree on a medical procedure for it to go forward.
Okay,
So since he doesn't want
okay.
his boy to transition, it doesn't happen.
It's
Well,
funny because I can actually hear several trans people that I know saying, they should make that, like, oh, if I could have avoided all the difficulty and hardship and agony that I went through, well, as a young age, by having it treated at a young age, I would have done so. And I don't know. I mean, I guess
but
I can,
are we convinced that by
right. Is
and
that the
maybe
solution to those problems?
is it and maybe this is where the show goes off the rails. But I mean, if you're truly
It
looking at it
hasn't
as gender.
already.
Well, if we're truly looking at it as gender dysphoria, right? And
Mhm.
I mean, because I know that's I don't think we're supposed to call it that anymore. Um, from what I've been told, but
Yeah, the terms change, and I don't know either.
trying to keep up with it, right? But if we're truly looking at it as gender dysphoria, is the best way to deal with it saying, yeah, you're right, absolutely, we're going to go ahead and deal with this and cut this off and castrate. I mean,
Yeah.
chemical castration of a 7-year-old. Now, do you realize that in some states in this union, if you do not vaccinate your children, they can be taken away? So you're telling me that you are going to take away someone's child in one state for not chemically castrating them at 7 years old? But you can also take that kid away for not giving them a vaccine. I mean, that seems like, I mean, are you putting those two things at the same level? I mean,
Honk
of
honk.
right. I mean, like, I don't get it. I mean, clown world.
Hmm.
But I mean, this is the society that we're in. And so it's refreshing to visit with you. I mean, I understand that we can sometimes fall into this place where, we're all in the same boat and we all
Hmm.
believe the same things. And if you're trans, this is the way you have to be. I mean, personally, I love the whole bathroom deal. That's fantastic. Now in Minnesota, most places we go, they have family bathrooms.
Hmm.
And so, I can, if I'm out with my daughter, I can take her to the bathroom without having to take her in the men's bathroom. That's kind of cool. So
But
if
now
we're
you
going to look
just
at,
need to worry about people calling the police saying that a man just took a little girl into the bathroom.
yeah, I mean, no one cares about little black kids, so we don't have to worry about that. So
Oof.
you know that. Come on, Soder. Come on. No.
Something I worry about.
A black man taking a little girl into the bathroom? Man.
No, me. I'm not a black man. I mean, I
Oh,
might
okay.
play one on the internet, but
See, the show's going off the rails. Liz, I need you to bring some levity back to this. So, all right. So, but all that to the side. So, the other issue, I really thought that this whole transmania thing, and I'm not saying that from the standpoint, I understand there's been
Hmm.
people since the beginning of time who this is not something new, right? And I have an uncle who I don't know I really don't know where he was. I mean, you have to think in the 70s. I mean, that was a tough time to be gay, or especially in the deep
Hmm.
South, right? And he was gay, and he helped, to get the LGBTQ, well, back then I think it was just Pride group
Yeah.
started in Arkansas. But man, he took some beatings, like literal beatings,
Oof.
during that time. And I feel for him, because at the same time, like, no one should have to suffer physical violence because of a choice that they make.
Hmm.
Now, whether or not that is something that God is going to accept or not accept, or any of that has zero to do um with that has zero to do with my acceptance of someone, right?
Hmm.
That's for God to decide, first
I
and
agree.
foremost. Secondly, if you are truly a Christian, is beating the snot out of someone the best way to convey the love of Christ anyway, right?
Hmm.
So I feel like people, anyway, that's a sore subject for me, because that was sad to see that. But fast forward to today, we see this transmania, and it's almost like, to be honest, I mean, if you want to get attention, it seems like the cool thing is to be trans, right? Or
Yeah.
to come up with some type of a sexual. You can't be cisgendered, right? You can't just be.
Don't use that term. That's their terms. To be normal. Let's cut
I'm,
the
I'm,
chase. I hate
I'm,
that
I'm,
word.
I'm
I hate
using
it.
I'm using the term facetiously, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
cisgender is sorry. As a side note, cisgender is like I think it's trying to otherize heterosexuality, and by scope and extension being normal. I
Okay.
think transsexuality is trying to be like, if you identify something as cis something, you're kind of labeling it as another, and I don't like that. And
Okay.
it's gross to me. It's
So
like, I am
so
not a statistical mainstream here. I'm like a very small minority, and I'm beating the odds, like, by just surviving each day. So
So, but so obviously, okay. So to be normal, all right,
Hmm.
we're definitely getting kicked off
Yeah,
for
I know,
that now.
right?
So to be normal, it will definitely cause that's just so yesterday, right?
Hmm.
That's not even cool anymore. But it's interesting to me to see how this is playing out because I love sports. I love athletics. I was an athlete. My family athletics were very important. I really thought that this whole thing was gonna take a huge turn when we
Hmm.
started seeing kids in high school wanting to compete it, against people other than their birth gender, right? Or
Yeah.
their I thought that was going to be an issue, especially when you started seeing boys racing against the girls and different things like that. But no, I mean it definitely hasn't. I that kind of bothers me though. I will say, I mean, there are a lot of kids, believe it or not, that the only chance they really have of actually going to college and getting an education further is through some type of an athletic scholarship um or an academic scholarship. But academic scholarships really are harder and harder to get.
Hmm.
Um, and to see some of these young women have their opportunities taken away because they're being asked to compete against someone who is biologically um, faster or biologically.
Who still has the same muscle mass as a man, who has the bone structure of biological male. So yes, hormones can change your body composition, but it doesn't change what's underneath.
And so
So,
I thought that would bring an end to it, or not an end to it, but at least bring it into the normalization of it and bring us to a place where we could have some honest discussions about how to deal with it. But that hasn't happened. I mean, we're still in the make believe world.
see, I honestly would prefer to just have a transgender or transsexual like Olympics or competition just for those folks. I suspect at this point there's probably too few, but I think that would have a better impact than I think it's than just going. I don't know. It just seems the issue that I see right now is that transsexuality seems to be about adulating weakness. It's saying I'm damaged and a wounded little bird, and so you need to make extra, give me extra benefits and give me loads of sympathy and give me special privileges because I'm so oppressed, I'm so beaten on constantly. And that to me I find incredibly insulting and pandering,
Well, I
because
mean, but
I had to earn everything that I've got. I had to go through that, and I had to make those choices and make those, walk the path. And the same reason I see feminism is incredibly pandering. It's, oh no, well, women are just inferior and weak, and so, by comparison to men, we need all this extra stuff just for it to be fair. I find that really insulting.
but it's not just in the trans community. I mean, essentially, what the left has done is they've attempted to make um, victims of us all, right? I mean, have they not?
Mm.
They've essentially tried to convince us that unless we adopt their fairness and their fairness doctrine, in a sense, unless we are willing to create this utopian universe, that there'll always be the underdog. There'll always be someone who is going to suffer um, because that's just the evil world that we're in. And so we need their protection. It's almost like, I don't know, like the old mafia movies, I'm offering you my protection,
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, as long as you're willing to give me 85%, I'll give you my protection from me. Right. But
Yeah.
it feels like that's where we're at. It feels like we've come to that place where if you are going to be something other than I'm going to piss you off and trigger you, a cisgendered white male, that
Mhm.
you have to be angry and have to be upset and have to be fearful of someone or something.
Right.
And I find that to be incredibly offensive because
Yeah.
You're taking away people's individuality. I don't think that these things are supposed to engulf everything that we are and who we are. But I'm curious to so let me ask you
Hey,
this.
before you go off on that thought, buddy, we have a few super chats.
All right, let's do it.
Let's get those out of the way before we get on another subject quick. First is from Grift Thulu for $1. Thank you, buddy. We live in a society, bottom text.
Yep.
That wonderful society. And then
Yeah.
we have Rick Nikita. Thanks, buddy. I hope you feel better soon. $2 with this is now a Warhammer stream for the Emperor.
I was
And
wondering how
finally-
you read that.
Finally, Fratter J. Liz, can I give you a couple nicknames tonight?
Give us a couple nicknames. So that was a thing that I kind of do. That
Can you give us? I read that wrong. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So they're called. I call them rhyming roasts. Just you'll get the idea. So how about we go into Ron Soye because he's the cuckold on the leash here. So I'll just give you a couple just to cut your teeth, as it were. Ron, cut me off the phone when I've spoken. I'll bust your lip wide open, Soye. Ron, don't go to court, sans me. I'll butcher your whole family, Soye. Ron, I cannot recall. I put my foot through a wall. Ron,
Are you saying these right off the top of your head?
No, I wrote them down.
Oh, okay.
They literally come to me while I'm like just about ready to sleep. So yeah, some of these I've just written down in bulk. But Ron, give daddy a kiss and argue with my fists, Soye. Let's see here. There's nothing that I know. This wife beater's not for show. Ron houses 2 minors, gives his wife a shiner, Soye. And how about the last one here? Ron posting on poll because his girlfriend is with the bull. And on that note, we'll continue forward.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Remind me never to piss you off.
See, ridicule is the
now
best
do Q.
form
Now
of,
do Q.
Yeah, no. How about we not?
No. I save the best for me. So, Iron Shame Saddler Alt-Right Grabbler Liz. That was fun. Iron hoping she'll pass so she doesn't get the gas, Liz. Iron always a fan, used to be a man, Liz. Let's see here. Iron fuck your leftist gestalt unleashing rhyming assault, Liz. Okay, I think that's good for now. Anyway,
those are great.
I'm impressed.
I have a talent. It's really weird, but that's yeah.
Yeah. You should be a freestyle rapper, Liz.
Oh God.
Oh man,
Dizzle Liz up in the
She'd have to sleep
up in the hizzle.
Can you imagine?
Lizzle in the hizzle, yo.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
I know there's gotta be.
You could bill yourself as the top trans rapper in the United States.
Yeah. Hey, there's got to be some
Locks. No, I got it. Locked, stocked, and decocked.
Oh my God. Put some coins in my eyes. I'm dead.
Well, you got trap rap, but I mean, there's got to be some tranny rap out there.
Oh,
there's got to be.
Great. Yeah.
And no one would ever be able to not, if they don't buy your album, it's because they're just misogynistic,
right,
transphobic jerks.
God, I could probably get Kanye to like promote it.
Oh, Kanye'd be all over it. Kanye would be absolutely all over it. My wife comes to me the other day and she's like, "Hey, have you listened to Kanye's album, his gospel album?" I'm like, "No, I haven't listened to a Kanye album in like 10 years." She says, "Well, you should definitely take a listen to it." And so I started listening to it today, but I realized I was listening to the wrong album, and I was like, my ears were on fire. I'm like, I cannot believe that this is considered a Christian gospel album. And she's like, "Oh, no, that's the Spotify playlist, not the album." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I guess I got to go back and give it a shot. But all my best wishes to Kanye and whatever he's going through right now. I'm not sure what it is, but it sounds like he's trying to have some type of a breakthrough, and I will definitely be hoping for the best for him. But Yeah, he's got a long road ahead of
Yeah,
him. He's
definitely.
definitely pushing a block uphill. So, but yeah. So let me ask you this. So
Mhm.
what is the relationship between a trans female and um the feminist movement? I mean, there's got to be a little bit of a some animosity there, right?
Yeah, no, there's two. So they call them TERFs, but they're considered trans exclusionary radical feminists. So basically, it's a feminist or a lesbian or whomever who believes that trans women are not real women, that they are, like I said, impeding in their spaces, and in fact, they're kind of erasing their identity. So I actually I'm friends with a conservative lesbian who explained to me that she's really sick of going to like lesbian bars or gay bars or whatever and having trans women hit on her, because it's like, are you pre-op? Yes, then I'm not interested, but I'm female, right? It's this kind of weird
It's a feminine penis.
right, exactly. It's you bigot, and that's a thing now where it's like, oh, if you refuse to have sex with me, you're committing a hate crime. That's literally something that's happened. Um, honk honk. So, you know, there is a pushback, I think, amongst lesbians who just say, look, even if you have post-op, that doesn't biologically, hormonally or chromosomally make you female. And they're right. Biology is a thing, and I've said it before. I'll say it again. I present myself as female, but technically, biologically speaking, I'm not. And that's not, oh, how awful of you to say. No, that's the truth. But that
Okay,
doesn't.
so let me ask you this. Do you feel that if you were going to get in a relationship with I don't know what you're attracted to, and that's none of my business, but if you were to get in a relationship with a man, do you feel that it would be responsible for you to let them know that you were post-op?
So there are two lines of thought, and it's interesting because as time has gone on, I can see it moving into one direction. But previously, there was sort of the two ideas of, I'm going to tell them right away, so that way they know what they're getting into. The relationship's built on honesty, and if that pushes them away, then I guess that's probably for the best. Whereas the other side of the argument is, well, I'm not going to tell them so that they don't immediately be repulsed by me, that they can develop trust and not immediately reject me. Well, as I've found now on and on, it's no, you have to accept me regardless of what happens. And personally, I think you can't, like, how can you possibly build a relationship if it's not on trust? How can you possibly build anything if you don't tell them right away? So for me,
Sounds like friend slavery.
eh, it's something. It's something, and it's not, it's gross, right? Can you imagine misleading somebody to that degree and then feeling offended when they get upset? Like, I can't think of a more entitled thing in a way, right?
I mean, it would be like me dating someone for 5 years and then saying, "Hey, by the way, I am married."
Right.
Like, yeah, like there's a huge part of my life that I need to keep concealed from you. But yeah, but trust me on everything else. I do
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that those are two totally different things, but I mean, if someone is not able or prepared to or capable of accepting you for what you are and your past and who you
Mhm.
are, then I mean, wouldn't you rather know that up front?
Yes, I would. And here's the thing. Unfortunately, this is a casualty of choosing this path. This is a price that you have to pay. And I think this attitude of, oh, well, I can do this process with there being no consequences. If you really think that transitioning is the hardest thing that you have to do through this process, you are gravely mistaken. I mean, you change the relationship with your family, you change the relation, like, you don't have a past, right? So I have a childhood that does not match my presenting gender. So people ask you, like, things like amongst women come up, and it's like, okay, do you lie? Do you make stuff up? Do you be honest? I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that you don't know, and it's very awkward, and it's all stuff that you have to figure out. So, yes, I think telling somebody and disclosing that is mission critical, because here's the other thing too, is it puts you at physical risk. I
Hmm.
mean, like, I was pretty much told by Ricky Wilchins, and pretty much everything that she wrote is, number one, be safe, be wise, be aware, be safe, be aware of your surroundings, understand who you're with, and understand that you take a risk in this process. And there are people who out there, nothing you say is going to placate them. They want to kill you. And you have to understand that. You have to accept that, because your life is more important than any point that you're trying to make or anything else like that. So yes, think of it as you start a relationship with somebody and they react horrifically when they know you, and then they beat the shit out of you or kill you. Well, who's right
Yeah.
then, you know?
Right. Right. I don't think
Use
well,
your head. It's the same oh, well, men shouldn't rape women because, yeah, you're right. Rape is wrong. But that doesn't mean you should go down, dark alleys and be stupid. Use your
right.
head. You might be right, but you still might get Rick Brown. So, I mean,
Hmm. No, that's I mean that's a very common sense approach to things, but the one thing I've learned is common sense isn't.
yeah.
Um yeah, wow. So so going back to our original topic, I mean, our original discussion in regards to the 7-year-old in Texas. I mean, so how do you feel like that should be dealt with? I mean, you mentioned the possibility of having kids one day, and how, I mean, that's kind of a great thing, so you're
Mhm.
not opposed to that idea. I
No.
mean, if it was your kid, I mean, how would you handle that?
Uh, well, that's a good question. And the reality is I don't know. What I would try to tell the child is, or to impart upon them, is to say, look, this process is more demanding than you might think it is, and you give up so much that you're not even aware of. And
Mm,
so I don't want your gender to be like a tattoo where you think it's a good idea to do this at one point in time in your life and then you're stuck living with it for the rest of your life. You can move on with tattoos. You can remove tattoos, but you cannot remove this process.
mm,
And I
yeah.
think I would explain them everything that I've gone through and say, look, if you I can't it's your life. That the beautiful thing about having freedom and having that divine spark of divinity is you get to choose between right and wrong, good and evil. The rest of that, your life is yours. So if you are that driven, if you know it deep in your soul, in your bones, and whatever, nothing I say is going to change that. And you're going to need that to get through this process.
Hmm.
So I would say it's your life. And I love you and I care about you and I want you to be safe and happy and successful. But I just want you to know this is what I've gone through.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but would you, I mean, how far down that road would you be willing to go at 7 years old?
I would say no.
Okay.
I would say I'm sorry, but here's the thing. What's the rush?
I mean,
What's the rush?
I just don't. I think of my mindset of at 7 years old, right? And I'm thinking, what has this child been exposed to at seven
Yeah,
years old
that's just it too.
that they are that aware of gender and that aware of their feelings and sex and in all the
Mhm.
things that come along with? That's the true question in my mind. I
And
mean,
the
because that's
consequences.
and I mean, and having children in that age range, I mean, forget. I mean, yeah. I mean, I get the consequence side of it, and them not being able. I mean, that's a child. I mean, we all
Yeah,
made. That's what parents are for, right? I mean, that's
right.
our parents are there to say no to keep us from killing ourselves or
Yeah,
doing something that we would. I mean, all of us tried to do things as kids that probably would have gotten us, we would have regretted,
right,
right? That
right.
our
And
parents were like, yeah, being the voice of reason in the room, this is not going to happen.
yeah,
But
and
go
I,
ahead.
I think ultimately for me, if I could go back in time and talk to my younger self, I would tell that child, you get to be whoever you want to be when you grow up. You get to do whatever it is you want to do and be and live, but you got to get through it first.
Hmm,
And I know that how horrible, right? You have to condemn your child to suffering. What parent wants to do that? But the cost is too high. I
hmm,
mean, the cost is suicide. The cost is if you have this surgery and you have remorse or have like a 1% doubt in your mind that you made the wrong decision, you are now the door is shut behind you. There's no going back. So I love that child enough to try to protect them even from, decisions they might feel are correct. But again, once they become an adult, having free will, you are able to make those choices. A child can't make those kind of choices. So yeah, I would say we'll put it off, right? We'll just grow up. We can go ahead at the end of when you turn 18 if you don't or want to, whatever.
To say something without sounding callous.
Mhm.
So I have a very close friend who is a psychologist, and specializes in working with young people with gender dysphoria. And we've had a lot of discussions about these things. Um, but my we're very different in our mindsets, which is fine. But I still value their friendship.
Mm-hmm.
My feeling is this: as a kid, or as a person, it, you deal with different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe gender identity is one, maybe alcoholism is another, maybe addictions or whatever it
Yeah.
might be, right? And we have to work through those those issues, whether it be as teenagers, whether it be as adults. My fear is that working through those issues, sometimes the very worst thing that you can do for someone who's working through issues is just give in and say, have it all,
Right.
right?
Right.
I mean, because if someone were chemically dependent on methamphetamine, right, would you then say, well, have all the meth you want, honey? Right?
Yeah.
Is that making you the benevolent or loving or caring one?
Right.
Just let me open the medicine cabinet to you. Um,
It's not compassionate. Yeah.
well, I mean, but we're having an argument, or a discussion in our country right now where for this particular issue, right, um, that we're saying yes, absolutely, we need to open the medicine cabinet and just have at it now. And then we're seeing the reverse effect, because I think I was reading that people who they followed people after um their surgery, right?
Mm-hmm.
um and that 20 they were 20% more likely after their surgery. I think I'm that number is correct. It might have been more, but I know it was at least 20% uh within 10 years after their surgery committed suicide,
Oof.
right? Now, if this were solving the problem, if this were filling the void that people were looking for, well, then why are they committing suicide at such
Yeah.
a high rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it something else? Or did it not fill the void that they were looking to fill, but now they had, I mean, there are some bells that cannot be unrung, right?
Right. Right.
And or have they gone so far down the line at this point to where now I've made this life altering decision, and now I'm forced to live in this, but it did not give me the peace that I was looking for.
Right. Right. And that's something that um, there were informational packets that I received, but I've before surgery, but I've been told in some cases they haven't gotten it. It's no amount of surgery is going to fix you. There's people who get addicted to tattoos or plastic surgery, and they have this ideal they're chasing, and it's the idea more than anything.
Hmm.
And yeah, unless you have the integrity and the soul there before you do it, you will be undone by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think there's an emphasis. And I didn't used to think this way. I didn't think that having a moral compass was necessary in a way where it's like, okay, I can do what logically makes sense and just be okay with that and have it go by okay. But I think in that idea though, people justify their own dysfunction all the time, right? If you're living knee deep in crack or some other narcotic, you're making all sorts of excuses as to why you need to keep doing this. So unless you build what you're doing on some kind of foundation that's based on a code of integrity, you don't have anything to draw on when it gets hard. And it did get hard for me. I had 3 torn sutures and an infection, which is exactly as painful as it sounds, I might add.
Hmm.
The whole dilation stuff, yeah, it's like you have to do that every single day, by the way. So,
Hmm.
yeah, you have to be committed to this. It's not just something that you think you'll pass off one day or you'll just grow out of. No, it's forever, and you can't undo it. And no 7-year-old can make that choice.
So let me ask you this. I mean, if you are not you, but if a person
Hmm.
is trans and they feel that they were born in the wrong body,
Yeah.
right? That they were a truly a man born in a woman's body or vice versa. Is the surgery for you or is it for the world?
Uh, it's a case by case basis. I think when I started the process, it was more, I have these problems with me, but I don't have that as an end goal.
Hmm.
I first need to address what is causing this. What are the reasons behind it? And I think one of the unspoken things I think out there is that a lot of transsexuality is the result of abuse.
Hmm.
So I think it's easier in some ways to say, "Oh, it's actually the dysphoria." Yeah, no, totally. We don't have to address the fact that a family member could have done something to you, or somebody that you trusted betrayed you, or all those other things like that. So you know, I didn't do surgery for anybody but myself. I
Yeah.
didn't. It was the final step into it, and
Sure.
once it was done, it's like putting on a new pair of pants, but I got used to it and it was fine. It didn't cause a crisis of faith or any of that. And the thing that I swore to myself and to God before I did this is to tell the truth. Because given the stakes that 40% of trans people end their own lives after surgery, or given the high rate of death, do I not have a moral obligation to tell the truth if I can prevent one person from ending their life?
Hmm.
And I say that I do. So for
Wow.
me, it was the right decision.
Sure.
And but for others, I would strongly caution them to say, okay, first, first, put surgery out of your mind. You're not going to start a process like that, and then this is where I'm going. No, you have to straighten out. You got to straighten yourself out first. Got to clean your room and wash your penis. So that's where it starts. Wash your penis, buckle. There, I had to say it.
Oh my God.
It just fit too well. I couldn't not say it.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Words to live by. Lessons from Liz. I think we got a new segment.
It's all stolen Jordan Peterson content.
Yes, it is actually.
Yeah. I got the reference there. So clean your room. Oh, all right.
There was a Murdoch thing where he was saying, "And wash your penis." I think that's where that came from.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
we got to have humor on this. Otherwise, if you can't laugh at yourself, you're gonna cry. So
well, no,
I laugh and stop from crying.
exactly.
well, sometimes you got to do a little bit of that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
no, it is it is a very interesting conversation because essentially we're being told by mainstream the mainstream media that we could stop all these deaths by just being nicer people. Um, and I'm not convinced of that. First
No.
off, you're not going to force everyone to start thinking a certain way. The one thing you cannot change is a person's mind.
Hmm.
You can force them to act a certain way to a certain extent, but you cannot change the mind of a man.
You
Uh,
also cannot mandate somebody to respect you.
you can't. You absolutely cannot.
Respect is
Uh,
earned.
it is, and the one group of people that I absolutely cannot stand are people who are entitled and feel that just because they woke up this morning and walked in the room that I must respect and kowtow and bow down
Hmm.
to them. I don't
Exactly.
care. I don't care about your sexual preference or orientation or your color or any of that. You, you're the. I will be kind to you
Yeah.
because you are a person.
Right.
but I will not respect you until you show me that you are worthy of my respect.
Exactly. That's
But
exactly right.
I will be kind. So we can start off on that. But essentially, they are laying these deaths at our feet, and really and truly, let's be honest, at conservatives' feet,
Yeah.
and saying because you conservatives will not accept these people, they are killing themselves, and we need to. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? I mean, I have a friend of mine who is trans. We have been friends for 5 years.
Hmm.
I did not know that they were trans, right? I
Yeah.
didn't treat them any different.
Yeah.
Like, and once I found out, okay, that's interesting. That's neat. I didn't know that. Wow.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, they did a good job, I mean, but it's like, okay, but big whoop. I'm not, it doesn't change anything about the person that I've been knowing or getting to know for this period of time. But let the media tell the story. I mean, I should hate that person, right?
Right.
Um, where I stand is this. I'll be very, very forthcoming. I believe that everyone has the right to be who they are and who they want to be, and to live how they choose to live. Now that is between you and your God on where you stand religiously or any of that. That is between you and God to settle out, right?
Exactly. I
My
agree.
my my job is to show you love and compassion. That is my responsibility. Now, with that being said, I'm not paying for your surgery.
Yep.
That you're not taking my tax dollars and saying that, hey, you have to be willing to pay for this. Absolutely not. I'm not going to pay for your surgery. I'm not going to pay for some woman's boob jobs
Right.
because she is self-conscious because she has small boobs, right? Like, and I know that I would be told that that's a terrible comparison. Um, but it's still a valid comparison, right? We're
Yeah.
still talking about elective surgeries, and I don't feel that the taxpayer should be on the hook for that. Period, point blank, into discussion. Now, if that makes me sound like a terrible bigot, I'll wear that hat. Hey, Soder, we got to get some bigot hats made. Definitely to get some bigot hats made for the merch.
Well, I think it's part of the culture of weakness, I guess, where it's like, well, now you're denying a trans person their surgery because they're completely incapable of being able to afford it or fund it or get insurance for it or any of that on their own. They need your money, right? They need the government to forcibly take it from you because they're just that incapable. They can't do it on their own.
Yeah.
And again, it's like I find that insulting. I had insurance that covered it.
Hmm.
Okay? If an idiot like me can do it, you can do it too. I'm not that smart, okay? And the
Well,
reality is a good number of insurances actually carry it. So
sure.
what is that? What if okay, let's say your end game then is to get insurance to cover your surgery. Well, that means you have to get a real job. That means you have to work hard. That means you have to put yourself into uncomfortable situations that you don't want to confront. You know,
Well, but that's the problem, Liz. You can't get a real job if you're trans because they will use the fact that you're trans as a reason by which to fire you.
I actually worked in a call center with my goofy ass Bert sounding voice. Um, so again, I have people. Oh, well, who's this dude? I've only in my time that I was there, and I think it
It's
was
ma'am.
it's pronounced ma'am. Um, uh, in about the 2 years that I worked at that location, I was only SIR'd like 3 times,
Right.
and I took 80 calls a day. I was really good at what I did.
Right.
But you learn to speak or enunciate,
Right.
or to get it to that point where it's not a problem anymore.
Hmm.
And I use a different octave of my voice when I'm doing this because it's more react or more relaxed. But yeah, again, you have to if you want to do this, you have to learn to adapt. You have to learn to get strong and develop that armor. And the other thing too is that gives you self-confidence. That
Sure.
says the whole world busts on me, tried kicking me down, tried spitting in my face, trying to, keep me from doing this, and they couldn't stop me. That's powerful. That has weight to it. But if you have this identity of weakness, oh well, I need the government to do it because I'm incapable. It's learned helplessness.
Well, I feel that if you can't come to that place of self-reliance before the surgery, after the surgery, I don't think you're going to gain it at that point.
I
I
think
think
you're
you,
absolutely correct because it's hard after surgery. Oh my God, is it hard?
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Soder, I think we got another message for you to read.
Yeah, we got a couple new messages here. First is from Tess, not on holiday. The point of being a victim is the ability to overcome and become stronger. The left doesn't want minorities to overcome because they'll lose all the traction they have. Pretty true.
Yeah.
And we also have Bob Neiman, kind of I'm not sure if it's a question or a statement because he didn't put a question mark on there. But he says, Liz, what are you doing? I got a coupon for Red Lobster.
A red lobster that won't spoil your dinner. It's a joke from Futurama.
Okay.
But sorry,
then,
I am spoken for, but thank you. That's very sweet.
And then we finally have, well, I mean, he could be a cuck too. So he could take you and whoever your significant other is out.
Well, you heard about that new person running for Congress that is just came out of a throuple. I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Yeah, that lady who doesn't she have like a Nazi tattoo, or did I misread that?
I'm not sure. I'm still trying to get over it. I just found out today what a throuple was. So yeah.
Well, sounds like a made up word.
Well, I mean, there's a whole lot of made up words going around these days, Soder. If that's the first made up word you've heard today, even, you're doing good.
Well, I talked to my kids, so I heard a lot.
Fair enough.
And finally, this just came in. J Boss with $2. Reparations time. Good show. Thumbs up.
well, thank you very much. Reparations time. Thank you for the reparations.
I linked this to you earlier. I'm going to call you Snodge because that's who I know you as.
Worse than Tim.
I linked that article where it's
you linked me a lot of things. I cannot read all of that stuff.
Trans people are demanding the government make them more attractive or something ridiculous like that. That was something else.
Well, I mean, we're surrounded by it. I mean, what is that? Always feminine products, or they're being forced to remove any. I'm sorry, they're not feminine products anymore because they're not only for females, because men have periods
I don't
too.
menstruate. I'm sorry to tell you this, but I don't menstruate.
Oh my gosh.
It's physically impossible for me to do that.
Well, some people would say you're the perfect woman then.
No, because I can't have kids.
Well, you got to try harder. Of course you can.
You know.
Of course you
gotta steal them.
Yeah. Of course you can. So, yeah, but it's this point that we've come to. I feel like the world has a mental disorder, and the fact that we can't even accept facts, biological facts, as being facts, is troublesome to me. You know, it really is. But it is interesting. We are in a very in a place I never thought I'd see us being, but it is cool to be able to have conversations and realize that there are people who look like us, people who don't look like us, people who act like us, people who don't act like us. But we do have a lot of commonality, and I would say we probably have more in common, Liz, than we have not in common.
I'd agree with that. And I think if anything gives me hope, it's the walk away movement. That's a really cool YouTube channel because the whole idea was it was a gay guy who decided that, you know, the Democrats were awful in what they were doing. And he was accused of being a Russian bot because That's a thing now. But yeah, he encouraged everybody who was walking away to post on Facebook, but then make videos. And you can see the cross section of America in these videos. You get all types.
Sure.
And it's not just it's not your stereotype that you would think would be a Republican, like a white guy. It's everybody, and they're all
Right.
American.
Right.
So
Well, I mean, I think that the left has a major issue coming up in 2020 in walkaway and also in the Blexit movement. Those are two gigantic movements that they're trying to ignore.
Yeah.
That they're not. And I feel like that we're in a place where I continue to harp on this, but I don't think many people are catching it. It is going to cost an immense amount of political capital they're in an election year. The left is in an election year. They don't even have a firm candidate yet. They have told us that the polls suggest that America is so ready to be done with Donald Trump, to get to our post-Donald Trump era, that they will readily accept any Democrat that they put out there, that America has spoken. If they truly believe that, would they exhaust the time and energy and political capital that they're exhausting to get him kicked out? I believe the answer is no.
Right.
I cannot imagine. I mean, I'm old enough to remember what happened when the Republicans impeached
Slick Willie C.
Slick Willie C, the first black president, right? When they impeached him, and how America revolted against the Republicans after that. A similar thing is going to happen. America doesn't like impeachments. They don't like this situation, right? And so the interesting thing to me is that if they truly felt like they could beat him at the polls, why would they be exhausting this type of political capital? I think that they know what the rest of us know, is that Donald Trump will get reelected. He'll be reelected by Reagan-esque numbers, by an absolute landslide.
Yeah.
And they are trying to do this. This is the ripcord, right? I mean, this is the fail safe. This is, in case of emergency, break the glass. I feel like that's where we are at. And they are looking. I mean, they've been talking about impeachment since 2 days after the election.
Yep.
I mean, so this is not anything new. But I think this is the weakest. I mean, Russian collusion was the first one. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you really think that if they had a case, they would be trying to do it behind closed doors? Or do you think they would march it in front of every single news organization, blare it from the skylines and say, here's all the evidence we have? Like this weaselly, like weeble wobble. Oh, we're gonna impeach. I'm Nancy Pelosi. My face looks like it's a melting raisin, and I'm gonna say, oh, we're going to impeach Donald Trump, but we're not gonna vote on it right now.
All right, that statement right there, Liz. It's convinced me that you're actually a woman. Insulting another woman's looks.
She's like if you put a Barbie in the microwave and then turned it on,
You've already proved it. Why are you trying to prove it more?
That scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. No, Nancy, don't open the Lost Ark. Okay. I can't stand her.
Yeah, she's pretty tough. She's pretty tough.
In very condescending tones. I want to enact a soft coup that undermines the will of the people. Screw you, grandma melty face. All right, sorry. Oh, sorry. Believe me, there's a lot to make fun of on my appearance, so it's free game, but seriously. Thanks for radio, that one. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's interesting to me that they're putting this type of energy into something when they don't even have when they should be putting the energy into putting forth a candidate that is even somewhat
electable at this point.
They have real identity issues on that end. They have real identity issues. I don't know that it's possible for them to find an electable because I think America has rejected this whole socialist ideology. I mean, completely. And I think what makes us Americans, first and foremost, is we're very strong-willed and we're very independent people as a people, right?
Mhm.
We don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
That's I mean that was the whole purpose of America being founded. I mean, you think of the people that come to America. Part of the American dream is just being able to be free, right? And
Mhm.
so you have a that far left agenda where they want to run everything from your healthcare to your school to I was watching something the other day where they're having butt wiping uh classes for kids now because they need to teach kids how to wipe their behinds,
Honk
right?
honk. Honk
And
honk.
I'm and people are like, "Oh, this is so great. They need to have these for adults because there's a lot of adults that don't know how to do this properly." And I'm thinking, "How have you survived this long? Like
Yeah. How do you dress yourself?
you can't even wipe your own butt without the government teaching you how? I mean, how have you made it? How have you survived?" You
Yeah.
know? And so I feel like the majority of Americans, even the people that would have considered themselves years ago to be moderate, they've been forced to the right? Because the left has left them in the dust. Like they are so far left. I mean, I feel sorry. I literally feel sorry for Joe Biden. I feel he's like, man, it was all good like 2 years ago. Like I was cool then. Like now I'm like I'm a boomer now. Like now I'm washed up. Now I'm not even acceptable anymore. I mean, if you're
I'm
not
sure
willing to
he'll just find an adolescent kid to sniff their hair and feel better. I'm sure he's fine.
he's yeah, he's snorting lice. Ugh.
Oh. Oh, well said. Oh God.
Take it to the head, Joe. Oh, yuck. And
Creepy
so,
Uncle Joe.
oh man, he is one creepy dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, but it's crazy to me that I mean, I honestly think that if Obama were to run on the same platform that he ran on in 2008, he would be considered to be too
Conservative.
conservative.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, so it just kind of proves that how far we've come, and I am so thankful. I am so thankful, and I think history will smile on Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, because
Great.
they have done us a major service. They really have. Because if the truth be known, they are the most honest politicians that I've seen in a long time.
That's true. That's
They
very
are.
true.
And that's refreshing to me. As much as I'm
You just
agenda
died.
is
Oh,
what?
You died for a second. Go
Oh,
back like maybe 15 seconds in
okay.
your thoughts.
But I'm saying that those two are probably those three, those four, the squad. They are probably the most honest politicians I've seen in a long time. They have shown us and they have told us exactly what they're about. I don't agree with their message, obviously, but they are clear about their agenda, and their agenda really and truly is the same as those before them. It's just that Nancy Pelosi and John Boehner and the rest of the crew, they were willing to slow walk it. And they're
yeah.
like, no, we want to go ahead and push through the end zone. We want to score this touchdown. We are not going to continue to slow walk this thing. We've been slow walking it for the last 60 years. I mean,
Yeah.
Saul Alinsky told us exactly what the end goal was. I mean, the end goal is what? Communism, right?
Yeah.
And
Robert Francis let the mask slip too much. So yeah.
well, and bless his heart, he's running with it.
Mhm.
Hell yeah, we're gonna take your guns.
Yeah, this is a guy who literally is a criminal. He's a drunk driver. He broke and entered. He was a hacker and the rest of this stuff. It's like
Oh
I'm
my
not going to
goodness.
have a criminal dictate my morality.
Okay, you
Yeah.
just listed off all the things the government already does. So what is he doing differently?
He's gonna use the government to try to confiscate your guns.
They already do.
But like more overt, I guess.
Yeah, now they don't have to pretend to be looking for something else at the time. So yeah, no, it's extremely interesting to see, and we're living in a fascinating time. But it gives us more hope to talk to people like yourself who are
Thank you.
just really and truly just normal people. I mean,
Yeah.
just Americans, right?
Yeah.
That love the country,
And
that
I,
love most of the people in it, and just want to see us be the best version of ourselves that we can be. So,
yeah, and that's what
um,
sorry to interrupt. I'm being obnoxious, but yeah, no, I say that to people even I disagree with. It's like I sincerely and honestly and truthfully do hope you find what you're looking for, that you become prosperous and happy and have a good life.
you're such a woman. Always, always interrupting
I would
people.
stop that.
More proof, an ever expanding mountain of proof that she is actually a woman.
Well, however you want to slice it.
so, so, oh my gosh. So,
I'm all full of those types of jokes, by the way. But anyway,
oh man, wow. Yeah, man, I don't even know what to say about
Give me an
that.
extra day to think about these things. And I was explaining to my kids tonight at supper. They're like, "Who's the guest on your show tonight, Daddy?" I'm like, a guy who says he's a girl."
there you go.
Oh, that was an awkward conversation. Yeah.
That's yeah. I mean, but but that's the thing, right? I mean, I'm not trying to hide these conversations from my kids. I just want to reserve the right to have those conversations with my own damn kids, right?
Mhm.
I don't want uh, this being taught to them at school. I don't want this being taught to them at the library. I don't want this being oh, by the way, Soder, in the town that you and I are close to, they're having a drag queen story hour.
What?
You want to carpool over there with the kids this week?
No, not really.
Oh,
Should we go to that and then do a live stream, kind of as a kind of like a Louder with Crowder type thing?
that'd be. It changed my mind.
Nothing will go wrong.
Absolutely nothing.
I think we ought to. We definitely ought to. But Liz, thank you so much for taking time. I know you had a long day
Yeah,
at work, and I appreciate you coming on the show and having some thoughtful discussion. And I really, really hope that we can have another one.
absolutely.
I'd love to have you on again. We didn't even get a chance to talk about dope, and we typically talk about dope like every single show. And so we have to get you back on to talk about that.
Sure.
And so Ter,
What? You broke up. I just heard tur.
I said so Ter.
Okay.
Yeah. I said, can you make that happen? Can we try to schedule a time to get Liz back on the show? It'd be a lot of fun. I've had a great time.
You're wanting me
Yeah.
to schedule it after the disaster that was the last 2 days?
It's great because then I can always it gives me an opportunity to be able to post mean things about you and no one gets mad at me.
That's true.
So I can call you all types of names and yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I really
Cracker.
do appreciate you listening to me, and I'm glad you had fun. I had fun too. So
Well,
it'll be
cool.
great.
Well, if you're popping off, Liz, before you go, Sakaki Onsai, Iron Liz equals austere woman number 1. Pelosi equals Velveeta.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh. Yuck.
Shoot, I kind of like Velveeta.
Yeah. No.
Uh,
Yeah, no.
no thanks. No thanks.
That's
No.
my white trash talking.
Yeah, I remember the day I had real cheese. And I haven't touched that since then. Yeah. Oh, yuck. Ooh, Velveeta. Okay.
Well, on that note,
Oh, and another one. Oh, and this one, Liz, this is directed at you. From Venomine. I may have had a few too many whiskeys to drink tonight. says, Liz, how do you feel about Medicare's recent video? I believe he's talking about the how sausage is made one.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I've been working too much, but yeah, I'm sure I
Okay.
can watch it.
Don't watch it right after you eat.
Yeah, no,
I'll
I,
just
I,
say
I get
that.
an idea of what it is. So, yeah,
Q,
Yeah,
have you seen it?
I started to, and yeah, I'm yeah,
And finish?
no, there's some things you can't unsee.
hmm
So yeah. Um, so yeah, on that note, you guys, I have a early morning and I really appreciate you guys both being on. Thank you guys to those of you in the chat. Thank you guys for sticking it out with us for this late chat. Definitely love each and every one of you guys. And we look forward to seeing you guys at our regularly scheduled time on Sunday. So thank you, Liz. Have a great
yeah,
night.
you too.
And we will see you guys soon. Hold on, Liz, real quick before
Sure.
you hang up. And we will look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday. Always be safe and have a great night.
Bye.